You may have seen it in the movies. If you're an athlete, you may have had a few practice sessions by now. Parkour was created in Lycée France by a group of 9 young friends who called themselves the Yamakasi. Yamakasi means strong mind, strong body, strong spirit in Lingala. Today in Taiwan, Sona Ayambe teaches the art of movement using a mix of Mandarin and Taiwanese. Stretching is important, laughing is important, and trust is important. Also known as free running, Sona teaches his students to maneuver through a series of obstacles, first using their minds and then using their bodies. Hello everyone, I'm Wes Ahana Pearson recording for Black Asia Magazine, and I'm in Taipei once again where I live, and I'm talking to one of the owners of a gym that teaches a sport called parkour. And just for the site, can you tell us your name?
Yes, my name is Sona Ayambe, and I'm from Dallas, Texas.
Okay, now your name Ayambe, what's the background of that name?
So my family is from Cameroon, from the town of Yaoundé and also Douala.
Okay.
And they pretty much immigrated to the United States around the 70s, and then I was born in Dallas.
Okay.
So.
All right. Okay. So I noticed that the symbols that you have, the tattoos you have, are Adinkra symbols.
Yes.
And they're from the Akan culture in Ghana, and I'm quite familiar with those. I've been to Ghana once before. I was in, I can't remember, some mountain or something like that, but there was a guy who was a very talented wood carver who used to send those to me, so I know exactly
That's
what
cool.
they are. Okay. All right. So you're in Taiwan now. How long have you lived in Taiwan?
I've been in Taiwan for 12 years, going on 13. Yeah, it'll be 13 in October. So.
And before you were here, did you come here directly from the States? Or?
Well, because I was a DJ, or still am, but I was professionally as a DJ, so I was always on tour in Asia and Europe. And then I first made my stop in Taiwan in 2006, mainly because my best friend in college, his uncle was a promoter, and he was looking for a foreign DJ to bring in, and I was already on tour, so he was like, yo, we can stop in and see what my home is all about, because I'd never been to Taiwan. So then I was here for 2 weeks and fell in love with the place. I thought it was amazing.
Really?
Yeah, this is before there was like one MRT line only, so it was very, very different than what it is now.
Okay. All right. What made you decide to leave home in the first place and travel abroad? Because actually, maybe it's because your background is slightly different, but a lot of Americans feel comfortable just staying in America. What was it that made you decide to travel abroad in the first place?
I think it's 2 reasons. One being just because of my family, we all they are all used to traveling. They're all nomads. So if you look at my family, we're all spread out. Like there's some people who live in Canada, some in South Africa, some in Australia, some in Switzerland. So if I told them I was moving here, they're like, finally we have someone to represent in Asia. And we're not surprised at all. The other reason was just because DJing, I was getting to see and experience new cultures, and I was at 23, 24, I was like, well, there's more out there than the one I knew, and I was just curious. And so I felt like as a man, there has to come a point where you try to challenge yourself. And I was from Dallas, and Dallas kind of has a small town mentality, and I wanted to see what I was made of. I wanted to see if I could survive outside, away from my parents, away from my family, and just kind of do what my parents did, which was leave home and try to make a life for themselves elsewhere. So at the point in my life, I was like, well, I'm still young, I don't really have any commitments. So
Can I ask how old you are right now?
I'm 37.
So me too.
All right, word.
Yeah, cool.
So it was around that. So you get it, like
Yeah,
especially.
I know. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
So it was, during that period, it was like, okay, well, let's see what's up. Like, at first I looked at Japan because I was there a lot, just because I used to play house music and make house records, and house music was very big in Japan at the time. So I was looking at Japan, and then when I got to Taiwan, I was like, oh, this place is like, there's something here.
Yeah,
And it was like
it
wasn't
resonated with you in particular.
Yeah, and there wasn't there weren't a lot of expats at the time, so we still had that kind of uncharted territory, like kind
virgin
of
territory. Like it hadn't been too many expats in a place, and because expats have a certain level of privilege,
Yeah.
it might kind of spoil that particular city.
Yes.
Yeah, I know exactly
Yeah.
what you mean. Yeah. All right, so it's interesting that you mentioned a moment ago that Dallas has a small town mentality, or like the area where you grew up. So can you go into that a little bit more and try and give us a picture of what it was like for you, where and when you were growing up?
Sure. Well, I was born in Dallas, but I grew up in a suburb called Arlington. And now I guess a lot of people know Arlington because you have the Dallas Cowboy Stadium, you have the baseball stadium, but at the time there was just Six Flags. So if you told people from Arlington, they were like, what? You had to say, we just claimed Dallas, just so people wouldn't give you that. Like, I don't know where that is. So, in Arlington, it was a suburb of Dallas. It was, I mean, it's just a very small town. It wasn't big. But Texas in general, just like, you always feel like everybody knows everybody. You walk down the street, if you don't say hello to a stranger, they look at you, what's your problem?
That's where the culture in the South.
Yeah, it's very much like that.
Yeah.
So even though Texas is one of the largest, or it is the largest contiguous, it feels very much like a small town. Even if you go to the south side, you go to the east side, you go to the west side, north side, there's still that southern, I guess, vibe or hospitality vibe. Where everyone's trying to feed you.
Really?
Yeah, you go anywhere. Everyone, like, you go over to anyone's house, it doesn't matter if they know you or not. They're always trying to, the first thing they do is, are you hungry? You want some food? Did you eat? You thirsty? I got some tea in the fridge. I'll give you some. Like, it's very, that kind of mentality. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that. It just popped into my head. So, is your family English speaking or French speaking Cameroonian?
They are francophones and anglophones, and some are Germanophones as well. But
Really?
in the household, primarily Pidgin was spoken.
Okay.
Mainly because, and even in Cameroon as it's separated, like you have the Anglophone area, the Francophone area. If an Anglophone can't speak French, they default to Pidgin. So Pidgin was primarily spoken, and then English as well. So
and Pidgin in the Cameroonian sense is
it's like Pidgin English. It's
So everyone knows some English.
Yeah.
Okay.
English, but it's like if I say, where you going? Say, you need to go for what? You need to go for what? I go for a shop. I'm going to go eat. Or I need to go for a shop, I need to go to buy thing. So it's very like, almost like broken.
It's English words. I mean, there's different way to say Pidgin. You can say patois, you can say Creole.
Yeah.
You can say, my grandparents are Geechees.
Oh, really?
And they're from the Carolinas area, maybe like around the Georgia Sea Islands. They have a lot of those people, and it's like that. It's the grammar is from I don't know what language. The pronunciation is different, but the words are English.
Yes.
It's like that. I know exactly what you
Even if you don't understand, you get an idea of what they're saying just because
it's a
there's
good
like
medium
keywords.
for different kind of people to communicate through that kind of broken language. I understand what you mean. All right. Okay. So moving forward, tell me about parkour. Can you tell me a little bit about the history of it? And as I'm listening to you teach parkour, it is French from what I'm understanding.
Yes.
And there's a lot of French language infused into it, which I'm thinking that maybe you kind of translate into Chinese.
Yes.
All right, how good is your Chinese, by the way?
Pretty much fluent.
Okay.
So I can read, write, type. I can get by in Taiwanese. I can't hold on full conversations, but I can do basic functions.
In the local dialect here also.
Yes. So and usually because Chinese and Taiwanese are interchangeable, so you'll hear me like we all mix it in. Especially if you go down south, there is primarily Taiwanese Chinese, whereas up north it's Chinese Taiwanese.
Okay.
So like if you're in the north, like Taipei, what's it, Taipei 西部 like they'll say, oh, 我等一下要过去那里，啊，你几点被得起的？ What time are you coming back? Right? But if you're down south, they say, oh, 我要去买东西，你要东西吗？ So they'll Taiwanese is more dominant and the Chinese is kind of mixed in. Whereas in the north, Chinese is more dominant. And
Taiwanese is mixed in. Okay. So would you attribute, you obviously have a talent for languages, would you attribute that to your background growing up and hearing different languages of your own?
I think that might be, and also because I grew up as a musician, and I've noticed a lot of musicians tend to pick up languages very quickly. I read a book that talked about people being kinesthetic, meaning they learn audibly.
Yeah.
So, or by doing.
Yeah,
and that's
kinesthetic, touching something and having something.
Yeah. And I learned that way. So
Okay.
I never went to school for Chinese. I just kind of walked around talking to random strangers, rode buses.
Really?
So my Chinese is actually not proper Chinese. It's very street, like hood Chinese.
Yeah.
So I speak like majority of the people in Xinbei City. Like if you know anything about the zoning, like
Of
New
Taiwan,
Taipei City.
of Taipei City, yeah.
Yeah, I speak more like New Taipei City style Chinese. So most people are like, "Why you speak like you're from the ghetto?"
But like, just learning a lot. I kind of, because I lived in mainland China for 2.5 years, I picked up quite a bit just by, like, making myself active and doing it. I kind of did that. Maybe it's because I also, like, my father was a musician. I've only heard West Africans ever say I picked up the language not by school, but just from talking to people on the street. Yeah, I've never heard anyone else say that. Everyone else, they might get it from any country in the world. They might get something just from daily interactions, but everyone else kind of studied.
Really?
And like, yeah, or like, if they didn't study, it just took them years and years. And you know, a lot of people who've been here like 10 years or something. I met people like 10 years who have nothing.
Yeah, I met those people too, and I'm like,
Yeah.
like my partner, he's Taiwanese. He's never left Taiwan other than going to Hong Kong, and he speaks English. He speaks English. He learned English from watching The Wire, of all things. So his English is like we're flipped. So he speaks hood English. I speak hood Chinese, and we're the best of friends. Like we know each other for 12 years. So whenever he speaks, people are like, "What? Why you talk like that?" He's like, "Word," and then like the way he speaks doesn't match
His face
at all.
Yeah, I'd like to meet him. It'd be good if he were here.
That's my homie. He had to go back because he didn't pick his wife up from the airport. But like we're like this when we started this business together. So
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into that a little bit more. But tell me about parkour. Where does it come from? All that.
So parkour was originally started in France, in the suburbs of Paris, known as Lys and Evry, by 9 guys. 9 guys who were some were from refugees from the Vietnam War, some were native French, some were from Congo, some were from Guadeloupe, some were from Italy. So you had this group of different guys, different backgrounds, who all lived in the suburbs of Paris and were all really interested in sport. Some played football, some played basketball, martial arts, breakdancing, kung fu. And they just kind of became friends through their love of movement. So they started around 9 years old. They would just go out and try to stay out of trouble because it was in a bad neighborhood.
Yeah, right.
And what started as games between friends, just trying to challenge each other, like, oh, how many push-ups can you do? How far do you think you can run? You think you can lift this strong? How high do you think you can climb? Let's see if you can trust me to hold you, with 2 hands off of this building, and we strengthen like our trust within the group. And as I got older, they started to make these games a part of like a code. So it became more about being strong, not for yourself, but for each other. And eventually, this group became known as the Yamakaze. And Yamakaze is rooted in Lingala, which means strong mind, strong spirit, strong person.
Okay.
Congo.
Congolese language. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So through that, through their bond, they came up with something known as art de déplacement, which is the art of displacement. And from there, they had rules such as, okay, if someone wanted to learn a new move, in order for that move to be counted as a success, you had to first prove that you could complete it several times. Then you had to teach it to the group. If you couldn't do both, then you could never say that you could do that move. So if I say, I can backflip from there to there, and they say, okay, do it now. And if I can do it, okay, well, now you have to show us. If you can't take what you learned and transfer it to someone else, then you don't really know the move. Because the true representation of understanding something is being able to teach it to someone else. That was their philosophy. So through
That's cool.
their period of time and doing conditioning exercises, training, bringing their influences from martial arts, from breakdancing, from gymnastics, it became what we know now as parkour. But that term only was coined in probably the early 2000s, because as they got older and decided to split up, just like any other discipline, they had a disagreement on which way it should go. Some people thought, well, it should be more efficient movement. It should be more about useful movements to help someone or to escape a situation. So that became known as parkour. From point A to point B using only the most efficient movements.
So it's somewhat similar to a martial art.
Yes.
If it's doing it like that.
Very, very similar.
Okay.
And then art of displacement was more about moving within a small environment and expressing yourself using whatever you want, any influences you want. So there were no correct or incorrect moves. Then as it moved to the English-speaking world, people couldn't pronounce parkour, it was called le parcours. And parkour just sounded too harsh. So after a documentary on the BBC known as Jump Britain, they coined the term free running for the English-speaking world. So then you had free running, parkour, art of displacement. It was all kind of the same thing. It started with the art of displacement, but just because language and cultural differences, some adopted parkour, some adopted free running, some adopted art of displacement or ADD, but it's all the same. It all started with those 9 guys.
Okay.
And our academy is based on, or we are sponsored by, and we're all trained by the original 9 guys, the Yamakasi.
How did you get in contact with them?
Funny story.
Share, please. We want to hear, please. Go ahead.
So I came to Taiwan as a music producer and a DJ.
Yes.
And I'd always trained parkour on my own, but there was no one, because there was no YouTube, there was no Google at the time. So I just kind of did my thing, and people in the park, of course, some black guy jumping around, like, what is this? They stand around, they watch, and some people start to join. One of the greatest things about movement is that I think as humans, when we see someone doing something, we almost innately want to start moving. You'll see people start like moving around and like start warming up and not even aware that they're starting to do stuff. So people started joining in with me, and those people were you didn't meet them, but my partner Awe and a couple other guys. So they started training with me, but I didn't really know much. I just knew how to jump and how to do stuff. I didn't know anything about the history. I just knew it was called parkour. As time progressed and parkour started to become more and more mainstream, we got access to documentaries, and we found out more about what the roots were, where it came from. It was from France. It was these 9 guys. There were documentaries that were available, that were only in French language, that you couldn't get until YouTube and Daily Motion came out.
Okay, yeah.
So then at that point, we started to learn more and more, but still we didn't really know about how to train properly. So we just kept doing our thing. The community started building. We started getting requests to do stage shows,
and
to
how
do
long
commercials.
did that take from the time when you started in the park? From the time you started in the park until when you started to gain some momentum. How long did that take?
So that was 2007, 2008, 2009. We'd already done like the news, some like college documentaries where they were just doing. Colleges have their little things that they like to do reports on. So we had that, and then we did Prince of Persia in 2009, 2010.
What is Prince of? Is that a competition or something?
So you remember the game Prince of Persia?
Yes.
Okay, so they did a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal by Disney, and that was one of the first films other than 007 to feature parkour. Actually, Prince of Persia came out 2008. Casino Royale came out 2007.
Right.
So Prince of Persia came out, and they wanted to use parkour to promote it, so we were the go-to guys. Then after 007 came out, Sebastian Foucault, who was the guy in the chase scene, was also one of the original Yamakasi, was doing a tour to promote a new shoe with K-Swiss. So we got that job. So
For your group here in Taiwan, you did
this. We did all, because there was no one else doing it, right? We were the only ones.
Really?
And it put me in a unique position, because not only was I the most experienced, I was the only foreigner, and I was the only foreigner who could speak decent enough Chinese at the time to actually communicate and negotiate stuff. So the language and the discipline, because the whole philosophy of the discipline is challenge yourself, learn how to adapt, learn how to overcome not just physical but mental obstacles. So we took that and we just figured it out. Like we all kind of took that idea to heart. And then around end of 2010, Reebok called us and was like, hey, we have a budget, we want to promote a new shoe using parkour, and we'd like to bring someone from abroad to help promote it. Who do you guys recommend? We were like, Yamakasi. We want to bring the Yamakasi. And they were like, we can't bring all 9. We don't have that kind of budget. So can you at least just choose one? So like, we want to bring the leader, whose name is Chow Bell. So they got in contact with you and asked you who was the best person to represent for their line of products. And you recommended the guys who were in. Had you met any of them? Had you spoken to any of them? But you just knew who they were. We knew who they were.
And you said, okay, we recommend those guys.
Yes. It would be like if Nike was like, if Nike didn't have any association with basketball and was like,
yo, to move into basketball.
Yeah. who do you think we should get? I mean, now it's it's Curry, it's LeBron, but for us it's Jordan. I'd be like, Jordan, like bring Jordan. I want to like bring Jordan to promote your shoe. So we were like, yeah, bring Chow. Chow comes in. We meet pretty much the father of the discipline. And
So you met? He came here to Taiwan.
He came here. He came
Okay.
here.
Okay. When was this? This is 2010.
I have all the photo, I have everything. We documented all of it because this was the start of the parkour scene in Taiwan.
Yeah.
So he came and he shared everything. He shared with us what it was about. He showed us what it meant to truly train, to truly push yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean train. We're not talking about like you do push-ups and several reps and you rest. It means you crawl on all fours until you can't move and you push harder. You have to push your mind, and you don't push just yourself. You push everybody. So this really showed us. Oh, can I curse? Oh.
You good?
I was like, oh shit! Like this is what it means to actually push yourself. Like we were all just completely blown away.
Yeah.
He shared the history. He told us what it was about, and we did a stage show. Obviously, we did all the thing with the Reebok shoe, but we were more enamored with the fact that he revealed like all this stuff that we just didn't know because there wasn't that connection at the time. So from that, every year we just were motivated to keep bringing them back. We worked with Reebok for 3 or 4 years, and then Reebok absorbed. Who did they absorb? They absorbed another company. It was Reebok and oh man, I can't think.
Puma or K-Swiss, something like that.
They absorbed somebody. Anyway, so every year we brought Chow back, and every year he brought someone with him. One year he brought the other member of the Yamakaze. One year he brought 2 members. And from there, he started to see as our community was growing, he was like, you guys are really doing something. You guys started from nothing like we did. And at that point, my music career was taking off. And because of my position I was in, I was starting to do film. I was starting to do stunts. I was starting to go to China. There was a point where I went to LA and filmed. So my attention was less and less on building the community and more on working, because I was getting to my 30s. I was like, oh, this parkour stuff is cool. It's a big part of my life, but I can't really make any money off of it. I got to figure out what I'm going to do. And my partner, Awe, was the same. He was like, look, I have my job, my office job, so I'm just going to do that, and we still kind of work with the community. So around 2012, 2013, I think it was 12, 13, we kind of pulled back, and the communities kind of did its own thing. Everyone kind of broke into factions. They had their own little groups. But what we saw is just a lot of infighting, a lot of people talking smack with each other. Oh, I'm the best parkour athlete in Taiwan.
Amongst
you
these guys who used to be friends.
Huh?
Amongst these guys who used to be friends.
Yeah.
The group of you that started it in Taiwan. Yeah. Okay.
So that happened. A lot of them were our students. Like pretty much every person on this island has either had some connection to me, Awe, or someone else in terms of being taught. Because we were the ones who laid the groundwork for that. And there was another guy named Ashin down south who built the southern community as well. So as we started to become focused more and more on our personal lives and our careers, the community continued to grow, but we just witnessed lots of infighting. And we were like, well, what is going on? This is not what this is about.
Was it amongst those founding members? Because I think you mentioned there were like 5 of you who started out.
There were three of us,
people.
But we had all, because we were the oldest, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone we had taught were anywhere between 8 to 10 years younger.
Yeah, so
So,
amongst them, like kind of like the second generation, where they
fighting.
were having maybe some kind of an ego issue.
Very big.
Yeah.
They were fighting over, like jobs. They were smack talking each other, and we were like, what is this? This is not the way like it's supposed to be. And at some point, it was me, Awe, my other friend Josh. We were sitting at a cafe, and we were drinking. We were just complaining, saying, "Oh, these kids don't know what it means to actually what parkour is really about." Well, they completely lost the way, and then we kind of came to the realization, well, it's kind of our fault. Like we let it go. Like if we're gonna complain about it, we should do something
about actually jumping and get involved.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at that point, drunkenly, I said, we should start a school, man. We should start a parkour school and actually build the community up, actually give back, give those kids a chance, the new generation, to understand what it's about.
Because before this, you were like in parks and like just outdoor spaces.
All outdoors. Just like finding spots around Taipei, Taichung, Hainan, and Taoyuan. Just, you just go out scouting and you say, oh, this place looks cool. You let everyone know, hey, this spot is good. So we did workshops. It was always outdoors. very little problems with the authorities. They were actually pretty cool about it, as long as you didn't wreck the. That was another thing, is that this other generation was disrespecting the property, because we go by a rule of leave no trace, meaning if you're at a spot and you leave no trace that you were there. No trash.
It should look exactly how it did when you rolled up. Maybe even a little bit better.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Because for us, that spot is like, whether it's a rail or a wall, it's like, we love that rail, we love that wall. We don't want to break it, we don't want to damage it, because if we do, then number one, we don't have our spot, and number two, that gives our discipline a bad name. But these kids didn't get that. They were just kind of doing whatever, and they were being loud, and they've been asked to leave, and they were getting on the news and getting bad publicity, which is what brought us to that conversation of us at first whining and kind of shit talking them, and then coming to the realization, well, we should do something. So from that point, we said, okay, let's try and figure something out. And this is 2012, 2013, and it just so happened that I was DJing a lot more in Taiwan, whereas before I was abroad. And do you know Maji Square, that area? Like,
no, I don't think so. You're in China? Okay, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so when you come out, you're inside station. There's like that whole area with like Triangle, that Club Triangle, and then there's like a whole food court.
Yeah, Triangle is very famous in Taiwan.
I was the first person to manage that place.
Really, 2010?
2000 Triangle opened 2014, 2013, 2014. Maji Square had been there after the floral exhibition, and there was a guy, because that whole area is owned by the government, right? And there was a guy who was managing it. His name was Martin. And he was like, hey, I have this new space. I want to bring in like different designers and boutique clothing shops. And I'd love to have something cool like your parkour. I heard you do parkour. I'd love to have you guys come and just like do it here and just have like kind of an urban type of vibe. We have BMX, you have skateboarders, everyone kind of doing their thing. He wanted like kind of an arts district type vibe.
Right, okay.
And I told him about our plans. I was like, well, we want to start teaching. He's like, no, you can do it right here in the food court. You guys come with your space, so I don't charge you anything. I just want to bring that kind of spirit, that kind of environment here.
That kind of energy.
So we were like, whoa, so we're gonna get this place rent free? He's like, yeah, it's cool. I was like, okay. So the first year we started our classes, we took the money that we made from stage shows, the money that I made from music and from doing films. We made our first boxes. We designed our boxes made out of wood. He gave us a storage area about a kilometer away. We had to move that shit all the way there, set it up, and we just started doing free classes at first. And that grew. We were there at Maji Square for 2 years, and then we brought the Yamakaze for the 4th time, and he brought 3 of the other founding members.
So the whole 9 group of them together, they're all known as Yamakaze.
They're all known as the Yamakaze.
Okay.
So Chow brought Laurent, Williams, and Stefan. And we had a biggest turnout for a workshop yet. We had almost 100 people, which is unheard of for what we were doing. Because before there's always like maybe 20, 30 people. Man, this fly's killing me.
Yeah.
So we had this huge turnout, and Martin let us do it at Maji Square. We did the whole workshop in that whole that grassy area, the park down the street, and within the stair. You know when you come out of the MRT stations, the stairs that go over the overpass. He let us use that whole area to train. So a lot of our humble beginnings is a big thank you to Maji Square in that area, because they gave us the rent-free outlet to actually build that community. And
shout out to Maji Square.
Yeah, seriously. So Chow came and he observed what we were doing, and he said, okay, you guys have really built something, and I think if you guys want to do a school, we'll back you. We'll let you use our name. At that point, they had already opened the ADD Academy in France, one in Montreal, one in Switzerland, and they were trying to get one in Asia. So we were the first Asia branch.
Okay.
So they let us use the name. We were still outdoors.
In 2015?
2015. 2015 was when it actually like all officially went down. Like they watched our classes, they kind of had a meeting, and then he said, okay, we think you're good. So at that point, we were still outdoors, but we could use the name. We were officially called the ADD Academy, which is Art du Déplacement Academy.
One more time.
Art du Déplacement.
Art du Déplacement.
Which is, or Art of Displacement.
Yeah, that's my French right there. Yeah, okay.
So there you go. So yeah, we continued outside, continued to build the numbers, and still kept doing news reports, stage shows. And I left for a while because I was the music director at the W. And I was working like 80-hour a week. Like if you ever worked in the hospitality industry, that's like parkour.
Yeah.
So I was the first one at the W as a music director, so it was a big deal. Like I was booking international DJs, DJing every night of the week, designing music for fashion shows, like doing all that. So I was working 12-hour days, 6 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So my involvement in ADD started to get less and less, and Awe kind of picked up the slack, and I was just kind of whenever I could. At the same time, my film career took off.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to slowly fade out because I was back and forth between here in LA, and I was doing the music thing, and I was totally unhappy.
Tell me about the business side of this. You teach parkour out of this studio here, and we got some shots of that. How long have you been at this particular location? What are your plans as far as expanding? How many other locations do you have in Taipei? Tell me about that side of it.
So this is our first. It's been open 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and within those 3 years, we've opened 3 others.
Mm-hmm.
So we have one in Linkou, one in Nehu, one in
Mm-hmm.
Songshan, and
Mm-hmm.
we're preparing to open Taichung within the next month. 2 of those are franchises.
Mm-hmm.
So our
So
plan
it's
is
not you running it as franchise, it's someone else who bought the name from you.
actually it's someone who they buy our SOP.
Mm-hmm.
We still give
SOP meaning?
our standard operating procedures. So
Okay.
they say, okay, let's say you want to open a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
We sign a contract. So okay, here's the franchise fee, but here's how you have to run it. Here's everything you need to run it. You use our coaches. We train the coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Our curriculum.
Right.
Our merchandising, and all you have to do is just make sure it runs. Like we handle everything else. Like
You
we send the
export your
coaches out.
culture for
Exactly.
that. And it's always so you can kind of make sure that your name isn't being trampled upon. You kind of control exactly what people will get, even though you're not there running it.
Yes.
Other people running it, but they're doing it the way that you've taught them to do it.
And anyone who wants to open a franchise has to go through coaches training to really understand what they're selling.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know our product. So you can't just say, "Oh, I don't know anything about parkour, but I see I can make money. So here's money." And no, like you either have to have someone who's been through our coaching program, or you have to come through it yourself to at least understand what it is you're getting into and understand what's behind the product, the spirit essence of our product.
Have you ever rejected anyone who wanted to be a coach or open a franchise?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I see.
We're very strict about it because it's our baby, and we know the potential of it. Simply because we've had it 3 years and we have 4, and they're all doing really well.
Right.
And now we've got it down to where we have our SOP down. I'm about to start a coaching license. So now we can replicate. It's kind of just like now it's just a matter of finding the right places to open, and we want to go abroad. And what we sell is not actually parkour. We sell happiness. If you see our videos, you'll see parkour, you'll see kids jumping around, but what you see is the smiling faces.
Right.
You see kids in ninja outfits, all the way down to the video. The videos are fast-paced music, the colors are bright, because the culture here is everything is dangerous, dangerous, dangerous. Be careful, don't get injured, right? 不要受伤，很危险，要小心. So if we just show a bunch of kids doing crazy stuff, the first reaction is, oh, whoa, I don't want my kid doing that's dangerous. So we sell happiness. And the kids come in, they're having a good time, they have fun. Then we say, oh, by the way, here's this very valuable discipline that will help you to overcome your fears, give you confidence, teach you how to solve problems. We slide that in. It's like a by the way type thing. And the parents see, oh, there's actual value. My kid's not just coming to goof off. They actually are being more confident. They're actually more focused on their schoolwork as a result of coming here and moving and understanding their body. So it's kind of a balancing act between the parkour and actual, like, I guess, building a culture for the kids.
Where can I see these videos and these images?
You can go, so we have 5. We have one for each branch. Our main branch is, you just go to ADD Academy Taiwan, you type it in Facebook, we'll show up.
Okay.
And we post videos weekly, and you'll see, like, what it's about. You'll see what we're about. And if you watch a class, because the majority of our customers are kids. We have adults, but it's mainly kids. And when they come, they have a good time. You know, you've been here long enough. You know how the culture is with kids afraid to do the wrong thing, afraid to speak out. Like we address those issues through movement. It's all kind of, for us, it's not just about teaching parkour. It's about building a new generation of kids who don't have those kind of, I guess, traumatic social pressures that our generation here has, or even the previous generation. So these kids come here and they're learning a unique way to interact with the world is what we're trying to do.
Okay. In Taiwan, what is it about the city of Taichung? Because I interviewed a couple of other guys from there. What is it about that city in particular that makes it ideal for doing business in this country and even in Asia?
First, it's the vibe, like the people. The people are just so chill, and they're really easy to get along with, from my perspective anyway. Also, there's space. Like you see, like everything here is up.
Yeah.
Like you go to Taichung, it looks a lot more like the West.
Yeah.
They have, like, you go to Costco, and Costco's like this, and not like that. You know what I mean? You go to a restaurant, they've just got, land is cheaper, the better real estate, and people, even though they say Taipei is a very metropolitan city, in my opinion, Taichung is more metropolitan. They're more forward thinking, and there's more money there than there actually is in Taipei. If you look at the arts center, the arts district, the way they deal with the arts, they're just a little bit more, in my opinion, they're a little bit more forward thinking in what they bring internationally, who they allow to do business there than Taipei is. It was a lot harder for us to do things here than it would be in Taichung. So for us, Taichung is the go-to spot.
Right.
And just because I have an affinity for Taichung, most of the people who we deal with here, like those students, a lot of them are from Taichung, so they're like, yes, you're opening down south. They're really excited about it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to say about the business? Anything like that?
Really, I mean, when we did this, we were in the dark because no one ever done what we'd done before. So we made a lot of mistakes. I never took business class. I never went to business school.
Trial and error.
Yeah, it's a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, which you can't. I think even if you had taken business class, even if you had the book knowledge,
it wouldn't.
You couldn't even say that it would have gone 100% smooth. You never know with that kind of thing. With
it would have definitely helped in solving some other problems.
Okay.
But yeah, I think a lot of times you just gotta get used to failing and learn. I mean, figure out how to learn from it. Right. I mean, we fail all the time, so we learn how to just reduce the amount of failures that we have as we go throughout this business. And so far, we're doing all right. I mean, I never thought I'd make a living off of parkour ever.
Okay.
And now, you know, I'm almost 40, and I have a kind of tiny empire that I'm just trying to build. And sometimes it now slowly becoming bigger than what I expected. So.
I like what you just said. Building an empire. I love that. My next question. I'm afraid to ask you this question. I don't want to ask you this question.
What's that?
You're an extremely positive person. You just have a very positive outlook. It's your whole, like, the vibration around you. What is it like? What has been your experience living here as a black man?
Well, I grew up in the South.
Yeah.
So there's a certain standard of behavior that you're used to.
Okay.
So when I came here, well, I think like most Westerners, when you first come, you don't really speak the language. You don't know what people are saying.
Yeah.
So you're like, yeah, it's a great place. Chinese people are so friendly. It's awesome. It's great. And you know the language. You're like, oh my God, these people are talking a lot of shit. So my first couple of years, it was rough. I was like, man, because there was cultural differences I didn't understand.
Yeah.
It's my first time living abroad, so I had a rough time adjusting. I was not used to like being stared at, and people doing weird
and
shit.
I noticed in Taichung, no one stares at you. I've seen that there's a huge difference between here and there. People, they see you and they like, and there's not that many foreigners there. That's why it's weird.
It's very, very strange.
Yeah.
It's. I've been here 12 years and I've seen the change, and honestly, I feel like the South is way more progressive in their attitudes towards different cultures than
the North.
What Taipei is.
And I think the people in Taipei, in and around Taipei, are more descended from Chiang Kai-shek's army. There might be, there are differences between people in other parts of Taiwan and people here.
Yes.
That might account for some of that.
It's very possible. It's very possible, and I wouldn't doubt it. As far as my experiences, I've experienced real racism. Mainly, I'd say almost 99% of it is from ABCs or Taiwanese people who went abroad. They were mistreated and then come back and feel like they need to extract their revenge on me for something that someone else did to them across the pond.
Yeah, it's kind of like they picked up a mode of behavior.
Yeah.
That how do you explain that? They picked up a mode of behavior that's like, okay, someone was condescending towards me. I didn't know how to deal with it, but I accepted it. And it's like, okay, being condescending is something that's okay. so I can do that to someone else.
Yes.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yes.
Or it's, it's like I'm Taiwanese. I went to school in New York, and black people kept calling me Chinese and making fun of me, blah 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 blah. And I come back home and there's a black person. Well, fuck, it's my turn.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of that going around as well.
Really? Okay.
So there's that, and then but other than that, a lot of it is, I think it's just A, cultural insensitivity, and B, ignorance. People just don't know. Like, it's like if you go to Mexico, they call white people gringo. They call any Asian people chino. Like, they call black people negro. Like, and even in Africa, whenever I go to Cameroon, like, they're the same way. They have a special name for people like me who weren't born in that country. They're called akata.
Akata. That means, so what is? I'm not akata.
Okay.
Tell me, explain akata to me. I'm not
Akata is a black person who wasn't born in Africa, but has African roots. So
I'm not akata.
You are. Because your ancestors at some point or other came from Africa. So it's pretty much they have it specifically for African Americans are called akatas.
So you're akata.
I'm an akata. And they will make it known. Whenever I go back home, like, oh, this akata, he doesn't know his culture, you can't really speak French, they will remind you, oh, you're not really African.
Yeah, but okay, if we unpack that just a little bit, my culture is in America. If I think about different aspects of culture, food, language, music, art, the way of thinking, the way we relate to the world.
Yes.
I have that amongst myself and African American amongst us. And in Africa there are many different cultures.
Yes.
What do you think about that? To say that someone comes from America, it's like you don't know your culture, you don't know African culture.
I think
as though there's only one. I've heard that this is African culture. Like, there's how many hundreds of cultures on the African continent?
Yes. Yes.
And so you think? Go ahead.
I think a lot of African Americans have experiences. Like, there's been jokes written about it. Even in Black Panther, they addressed it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And me being on both sides, like whenever I'm visiting my cousins, it's a blatant. I don't know if you call it racism or prejudice, but
it's something that just like it's a slap in the face. Like I have my name is Wesahana, which is, some people might tell me that that's cultural appropriation, but it's not cultural appropriation when you understand that my parents are very heavy African historians as Black Americans. I wouldn't call it cultural appropriation if I can tell you exactly who this person was and when he lived and his whole everything as a historical figure. So, but like what you said, like that blatant kind of discrimination, it's like, where is that coming from?
History. I mean,
yeah.
There's a reason why we ended up over here. There's a dark history behind that.
Yeah.
And the whole cultural appropriation, that's America. Like, America in itself, its essence is cultural appropriation. Our food is based on cultural appropriation. So, for me, because I haven't spent a lot of time in America, I mean, 12 years out, I go and visit, but I see everything that's going on from the outside looking in, I'm like, cultural appropriation.
Yeah, I see that a lot. Like which culture am I appropriating?
Because America is, like, that's America in its essence is cultural appropriation. Like, if you want to talk about real Americans, look at the Native Americans. Look at the people who came across the Bering Strait. They're like, and we're all immigrants, like everybody. I mean, obviously we didn't get there by choice, but
what? Well, so for African Americans, some of us, we have ancestors who are not immigrants.
Yeah,
so
we do.
I can say that, or I can say we have ancestors who are immigrants.
Yes.
So they came there by choice or not. It's a kind of like a hodgepodge of different things.
True.
Yeah.
So yeah. But back to my experience being here, I mean, no one's trying to lock me in a cage for having too much melanin in my skin, so that keeps me here. Yeah. I mean, people may point and people might freak out, but there's a big that comes from not freaking out whenever sirens like turn on. Whenever you see the police and your iris doesn't tighten up. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's a big sense of relief that comes from that. And when I tell people about that, they can't relate because they don't know. That's all. Growing up in the South, I don't know how it was growing up in New York, but that's all you knew. That's where the phrase "driving while black, walking while black" comes from. You always gotta. I'm sure I don't know. Your parents had to talk with you. It's
My
like
parents gave me something called a little black book when I was 10 years old.
What's that?
And it was a list of things that you should do and say when you encounter police officers.
Oh yeah.
So that you don't get shot.
Yeah.
As a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you
Yeah.
mean.
And my partner Awe, when I talk, his only experience of America is through television. So when he watches stuff like The Wire and he sees the news, he's like, "Is that real? Is that?" I was like, "Yeah, motherfucker, that shit's real. Like, I can tell you tons of experience." And he's just in disbelief. He's like,
How
man,
do people live like this?
he don't understand.
Part, yeah.
He's like, "Here, if the police fuck up, we will burn the police station down if they do that." Like, that's their attitude here. It's like, "No, you work for me. We pay your bills, so don't fuck up."
Yeah.
So yeah, I gotta say, there are some advantages and disadvantages and some grievances with living in a foreign country, but all in all, I mean, it's a nice place.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you pretty much went into everything that you're doing now, your projects. I think, yeah, that's pretty much it. Any final thoughts or comments you want to leave us with before we wrap?
For anyone who is wanting to do business here,
Mm-hmm.
or even just make a life for yourself here, it's really easy to how do you say that? Take things for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Because as Westerners, we have it really well here.
Right.
I mean, even as like whether you're teaching English, you're doing whatever, there is preferential treatment that comes with not looking like everyone else, with being born on that side of the dirt as opposed to being on this side of the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
So handle that with care, because your fuck up is something that we all have to deal with.
Yeah, it reflects on all of us.
Exactly.
Right.
And especially, I mean, there's been a lot of expats who come here over the years, but people of color are even under a more because
Yeah, you're even more highly scrutinized
Yes.
when you're a black person out here. So it's worse if we fuck up.
Yes.
Right. Yes. Okay. I got
Especially because I'd say 99.9% of people's experience, understanding of black people is portrayed how we're portrayed in the media,
you. Which is pretty negative. Yeah, and that's with like walking around Taipei. I see people who are afraid of me, and it's like you don't know any black people. I know it's because this is what they've seen on television.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's changed. It's changed a lot. It used to be people are afraid, and then they played 12 Years a Slave and Get Out, and everyone is just kind of looking at you with sympathetic eyes. Like, whoa. I had someone come up to me and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "What?" It's like, "I saw Get Out. I saw 12 Years a Slave." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm cool, man. I'm cool."
And Black Panther did wonders for
Yeah.
We did great things. for us.
Did great things for the image.
Yeah.
But still, you know.
And it's like, do we have the right to get mad? Number one, because people only know you through their images, through stereotypes. That's going to be human nature. So it's like, and also, should we be more critical of how people, when I see a black person on TV rapping or in the media, in the movies, should we be more critical of that person instead of just letting it go and saying that's okay?
I think it's a fine line, right? Because for me, let's look at the entertainment aspect, like, you know, ball play and rapping, music. Like, a lot of people, that was the only choice in order to get out, right? A lot of people didn't have the opportunities. It was like, well, it's either I sell crack or I rap, right? I think that might have been Jay-Z's option. Like, a lot of people,
slinging crack rock, or you got a wicked jump shot.
Yeah. There you go. So for some people that had no other choice, they're just making the best of a bad situation. And they've done pretty well for themselves. My problem is when you have options and you choose that, and you choose it in a way of like, you ever seen the Boondocks?
Yeah.
Okay, it's like
Aaron McGruder.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like he had one episode that dealt with that, and it was, you know, you're pretty much just you're a professional buffoon for the sake of, because you can, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, you got to be careful. I mean, entertainment, music, that's something that's a big part of our culture, not just African American culture, but African culture. I think many cultures, that is a big part, and that's just something we happen to do pretty well. But we're also some smart motherfuckers. Yeah. So just because you embrace one doesn't mean you to deny the other. Or
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you have a line of clothes or other products. Do you have that anywhere? Can I get a shot of that?
Yeah, we have. So our brand is called Part-Time Ninjas.
Okay, Part-Time Ninjas.
For the kids,
Okay,
We
yeah,
designed this
let's
as-
pop one of those open. Let's get a look at what that is.
We designed this as, it was a joke actually. We were talking about what if we had the kids come in with a ninja hoodie, and then whenever someone comes in they want to try, they see a bunch of ninjas turning around looking at the door, and the kid's like, Mom, I want to sign up, I want to sign up. The parents like, please take my money. And then our friend was like, yeah, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, so the baby side has a hood to it.
Yeah, it's a hoodie. And then there has a mask on the inside that you can pull up. So
Really?
So when you put it on, you're like straight up ninja.
Wow.
So the kids wear the part-time ninja, the coaches wear full-time ninja.
Part-time ninja.
The full-time ninja is mainly for coaches and for parents who, we had a lot of parents who were like, yo, can I get one of them shirts, dog? Can I get like a full-time ninja shirt? So then we started printing adult sizes.
Mm-hmm.
Because we realized, okay, well, if people want to buy them, they can buy them. But
All right.
they're selling pretty well. So once we get the shoes done, then when kids sign up, they'll have the shoes, they'll have the shirt, and then we're also going to do pants as well. But we want to do the shoes because how can you have a parkour brand without the shoe? That's like the most important thing. That's the biggest question people ask in their sign up is what kind of shoes should I wear?
Mm-hmm.
So we feel like, well, that's a problem that needs a solution, and we're going to solve it by creating the shoes.
Okay. All right.
Oh, we got everything.
Black Asian Magazine.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, we out. Okay.
Cool.
All right.